Mark, if I could take the conversation to you, and just if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, sir.
Sure. Good morning. My name is Mark Cederloff. I'm the CEO of VSR Cloud Communications. And we have a little bit of experience. I have about 40 years in telecom, 35 years in hospitality. And I think the most important step up there for me is the thousands of relationships that I've built with the hospitality community over the years. A lot of them are good friends of mine now that I'll go over to their house and I'll have a meal with them, or we'll engage on a continual basis. So it's all about relationships, it's all about guest service, support, and so we completely understand that.
Mark, thank you so much. I appreciate that. We just were talking about voice AI just a second ago. How can an AI voice assistant help individual hotels? Thank you so much.
So basically, contrary to public belief, there is still a lot of use of the telephones in the hotels. That is still a way that many guests want to be communicated with, but you can't refuse that they want to have other levels of communication through other methods. So it's important that we just interact with the guests how they want to be answered and how they want to be communicated with. So one big aspect of this is the telephone system. One area that what we provide is the ability to answer all the telephone calls that come in. And if you can envision this scenario at your property, the front desk person is talking to a guest and the phone rings. What do? If there's one person at the desk, either you're going to upset the person in front of them, or the person not getting an answered call, and it goes on and on. You call from a room, you dial 0 from the room, this will go black hole. So we don't think it has to be any more of one or the other. It could be both. So basically what we've been able to do is answer every single call that comes into the property and give that ability for the customer and the guest to basically have a natural language communication with the system. They just say what they want. And the reality is the majority of the calls that come into the property are repetitive and are consistent in nature, are specific to your particular property. So having your front desk staff sometimes becomes mundane. They get displeased at having to answer the same question over and over and over again. This way they can kind of offload all those generic types of questions. What time is breakfast? What time is checkout? Is there a pool? Do you have a restaurant? All those types of things that you can understand exactly what the guest wants and answer those questions. And then what that means is now you're freeing up those front desk people or other guest service people to have one-on-one interactions. And that could be either address an issue that takes more time, that could be an upselling opportunity, talking to them about your property. We want, in many of these cases where it's a larger property, you don't want the guests to leave the property, you want them to stay on site, eat in your restaurants, take advantage of all your amenities that you have. So being able to offer that and free up those resources is very important. And we talked earlier a little bit about whether that's a displacement or an augmentation of an employee. That really depends upon the ownership of the company stakeholders on what they're going to do. But I can give you an example. We had one property in Orlando that had 6 people answering the phone. They were able to drop that down to 2, and that was a $250,000 bottom line increase of revenue. So there is a significant cost savings when you start looking at this. Other properties take the opinion of, I don't necessarily want to displace that person, but I want to put them into a different opportunity. Let's get them more guest-facing. What can we do to sell them other services, other reservations, other types of things? So you can have a mix and match or do whatever's best for your property. But overall, what it's doing is it's increasing your operational efficiencies. It's going to reduce your costs, and overall, it increases the guest experience. The guests are happy; they're getting the information that they need quickly. They need that information without having to go through a lot of resistance. They don't want to sit and wait. A lot of times, they just want the information as fast and accurate as possible.
I just want to emphasize the point you made. We did a Booking.com and Marriott got together and did a study of the average age of their guests, right? So the average age of a hotel guest at Marriott was 43 years old. Average age of a a Booking.com guest was 26 years old. If you look at how the younger generation, want to engage, it's definitely not picking up the phone and calling someone, right? So there's definitely room, I think, for an opportunity to either make that easier, make that less stressful. My daughter is 15 and she works at a small boutique that we own. She has asked, with her friends, all asked, can we please do anything except for engage with the public? Right, so I think there's this low level because of the pandemic and staying at home for years and not necessarily being engaged in a regular classroom setting. There is a lot of this feeling of anxiety that comes with those interactions, right? And I worked as a hotel GM for 10 years, and just covering those shifts, every time the phone rang, I knew I was going to say one of three things, right? So to take that out, to take the easy stuff out, to make that more automated, to make it seamless, to take the easy stuff off, to be able to engage face-to-face, I feel is a huge, huge benefit. Thank you so much. How can I trust AI to ensure the correct content and guest experience is delivered?
So this is a very big topic. There's so much negativity going on right now about AI and hallucinations, and it's not going to necessarily give you the information that you want that to have. So in our particular case, we spend a lot of time with all the guest-facing content. We understand exactly what's important to your property, not the property next door or the one down the street. It's all relative to you. So all the content and the information that's gathered is specifically to your particular property. And so when the question is answered, it's answered with when the question is asked, it's answered with the answer you want, not what ChatGPT wants or Siri or anybody else. It's what exactly you want the guests to hear. So for example, a lot of people will want to suggest you really should use ChatGPT. Well, let me give you an example. Say for example, I have a hotel, I have a steakhouse in my hotel, and I ask the question to ChatGPT, I want to get a steak. Is it going to guarantee it's going to put them in my property? No. It could put them down the street, put them anywhere. So it's all about controlling the guest experience and controlling how you want to be able to communicate that information to the callers. There's no rogue answers. It's always exactly what you want to say. The other part of this is we're not using third-party data storage, and as far as where we're getting the content from, so we never have to worry about where that information is coming from. It's coming from the property, and it's something that is not a checkbox that you're done. You want to basically keep the content fresh as possible. You may have some new specials at your restaurant, or you may have other types of things. I can give you another example of content that one of our customers down in Orlando, right on a Walt Disney property, their window, they were barraged with everybody from the room and the property asking what time does Epcot Magic Kingdom open up. And so they basically were spending employees' time, energy, answering calls that theoretically Disney should have answered. So what we did was we worked with them. They basically had the problem of how do we offset and offload all those calls that want to know about Disney. And so what we've done is we've created a unique way to go out to Disney.com every day, multiple times a day, and scrape their data website to get all the actual hours of operations, so that when we communicate that information, we're telling them accurately based upon the source, not something that we came up with or something that the property has to manage. And so it's important that we understand where's the pain point in your property. What is causing either extra guest experience challenges or additional costs, and we need to address those and find ways that we can do that. And the most important part of this is that this is a natural language speaking scenario. You don't have to be specific in what you say. You can just say, what time is breakfast? It'll give them the exact answer that they want. So it's very easy to use, and it doesn't require any training.
Fantastic. And how can we measure the results?
So this is very important also, because a lot of people want to adopt AI, and they're saying, well, how do I know my investment is going to pay off? How can I prove it, right? And so that is just as important to us as being able to solve the problem of offloading the content and the questions to the callers, but how do we prove to the stakeholders in ownership and management that this is actually working? And so this is actually a real-time screen of that Wyndham property I mentioned down in the, earlier. So one of the big things you could see where it says 100%, 100% of their calls were answered within 2 seconds. They had 0 abandons, meaning nobody hung up. And then you could look at the pink box there where it says 180, and you could look at the yellow box that has 187. So between the 2 co-branded properties, 267 calls came in at the snapshot of time at this particular property. The blue box below, the 86, that's how many used the front desk. So we're providing a 70% lift off of the front desk. And that's where the big value is that now you can show this in real time. This is a real-time screen that the management can see what's going on. And we also give them those graphs that shows them when the calls come in. So are they staffing properly their team? You can see that between midnight and about 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, hardly anybody calls. If I was allocating 2 resources to that, I've been wasting my money. I could basically not have to have 2 people at the front desk. So it's all about tools to basically show that the technology is working, that we're showing this, and also a lot of our properties have done guest surveys, and they're happy with the technology because they want the answers quickly, and they don't mind talking to the system if it sounds good and it gives them the information that's a low point of friction with the property. And we give them also visibility about where all the other calls went. When if somebody calls up and says reservations, how many times did that happen? Most people have no visibility to why someone's calling their property, how often they call their property, how long they talk to their property, how long they talk to their agents, and where are they going. And so as a hotel owner, this gives you that ability to understand, this is where my money's being spent. Do I have the right amount of resources at the front desk? Do I have the right enough resources in sales? Am I offloading my reservations to the right team? Are we looking at OTAs and other types of things? So this really just gives you the information to make better business decisions.
Mark was talking right now about how measuring results, and it just made me think there was this. We actually, Booking.com launched in the app an AI chatbot, and when we did a survey of our customers, we asked how many of you would be willing to engage with that to help do your trip planning, and only 23% of the people we surveyed said, yes, I would engage with that chatbot to help plan my future holiday. It turns out more than 50% of the people who come onto the app use that chatbot to start their planning process. So the reason I bring that up is to say, I think there may be a thought process that, my guests are not going to want to speak to a computer answering the phone. And I say this just to illustrate the point that it's a much higher percentage, I think, than anyone here would guess initially, of the willingness to engage with this sort of technology is something that's kind of really stands out. The opportunity is really there because this is something that people are really willing to engage in. I went from using no AI a day to now I use a minimum of 3 every single day on my Apple device, Gemini I use, and ChatGPT. I have no reason to use it, except for now, before I send an email to any of the people in my company who are, I would say, bosses above me, I always write what I was going to write and let ChatGPT just run it over one more time. Did I miss anything to add to this, any way to make it more professional? You can tell by how I speak right now, that's probably something I need some help with. But these type of things, there is a huge appetite out there for engaging this. Part of it's because it's new, there's a little bit of novelty to it, but the other part is because it's really servicing a need that people are looking for. Rich, thank you so much for coming. I know you're incredibly busy.